Welcome to my poster presentation. My name is Godson Adjovu. I'm a PhD student at the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering and Construction at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, UNLV. My poster presentation is on a system dynamic model to aid in effective utilization of water resources in the Las Vegas Valley, located in the southern Nevada, USA. This is a semester project I did for a course in the fall 2020 semester. Water is becoming increasingly scarce due to urbanization, climate change, and population growth. It is estimated that more than 2 billion of the world's population do not have access to potable water. Issues related to water is becoming more prominent as there is changes in precipitation pattern, as well as there are changes in precipitation pattern as well as increase in water demand. Semi-arid regions face serious issues with regards to water resources. Las Vegas is one of such a semi-arid region located in the Clark County of Nevada. The county has a projected population as of 2020 with over 2 million people. This is according to the Center for Business and Economic Research Project. This population is expected to rise, and this is likely to place extreme stress on the water system. There is therefore needs to manage and preserve the water system. In order to preserve water, there are two policies available to stakeholders in the water resource sector. This includes either managing the water demand or increasing the water supply. Managing the water demand can be done through water price optimization, while increasing supply or managing supply can be done through desalination, rainwater harvesting, as well as wastewater recycling. Supply of water to the Las Vegas Valley is from the Colorado River and then return flow credit. The return flow credit is as a result of amount of water that has been used indoors that is discharged back to the Colorado River through the Lake Mead. The amount of water that Nevada can withdraw from the Colorado River by law is limited to 300,000 acre-feet per year. This Colorado River also supplies water to 6 other states and then Mexico. In order to manage water resources, stakeholders need to put in some measures to ensure that the water is available for use. One way to effectively manage water resources is through the use of system dynamic modeling applications. The objective of this study was therefore to develop a system dynamic model to aid in effective utilization of water resources in the Las Vegas Valley. This will help to understand issues relating to water crisis in Las Vegas and also assist the stakeholders in decision making to ensure that perpetuation of water resource in the valley. This study investigated the effect of population, water tariff, outdoor water use, per capita water use on the demand and supply. The study area is located in the southern Nevada, as I mentioned. This is a map of Nevada and the surrounding states. This is California. Here is California. This is Arizona, and this is Utah. This is Nevada. So at the extreme southern part here is the state where the study area is located. So when enlarged, we have surrounding cities such as North Las Vegas. We have the Las Vegas. We have the Henderson and Boulder City, and then this is the Lake Mead. Here is the Las Vegas Wash. This Las Vegas Wash acts as a conduit, kind of carries the treated wastewater flow from the waste treatment plant here to the Lake Mead and then to the Colorado River, where it comes back as a return flow credit. The study area encompasses a drainage basin with area of about 1586 square miles, and then it's at an elevation of more than 1800 square feet above mean sea level, and then the average temperature of this area is about 70 to 100 °F, and then during the summer, and then the annual precipitation is about 4 inches, with evaporation ranging from 3 inches to 10 inches during winter and then the summer, respectively, for winter and the summer seasons. The Southern Nevada Water Authority, SNWA, is the agency responsible for provision of water and wastewater services to the study area. In order to carry out the study, the methodology employs include data collection, model development, the testing and validation of the model simulation, and then the analysis. Data that were collected include population data and price elasticity information, and then GIS data on the study area. These informations were collected from various websites, and then various past literature or various studies. Here, this is a table of the data and then the source of the data, as I mentioned. So these are where the various data that was employed, and the source of the data. And then on the right is the model, the framework of the model. So the model developed consists the baseline model and then the policy framework model. So this is the baseline model. This includes a sector, water supply sector, and then we have the water demand sector. So the water supply sector just basically deal with where the various source of water. So here we have the water, the allocation from Colorado River, and then the return flow credit, and then the groundwater supply. And then also we have the water demand consists of the water demand entails or is dependent on the per capita water use and then the population. So this sector is there. And then another framework considered is a policy framework, and then the policy framework takes into account the pricing, but that one was not included in this poster. That deal with the financial structure and then how financial sector have an effect on the demand and then on the water demand. So in the results and discussion headings, we have the model testing. So in order to test the model, the historical Southern Nevada Water Authority water demand data, and then the simulated water demand were plotted to see so here we can see that there's a pretty good match in the both the observed water demand, which is the Southern Nevada water demand, and the simulated one. So that the Southern Nevada water demand historical one is in black, and the simulated one is in the red ink, as shown here. Statistical performance was done, and then it was the performance was found to be satisfactory. For example, we have a percentage bias, which is about 10.8%, which was said to be a good, and then we have the ratio of the root mean square error. Yeah, and we have the RSR ratio of the root mean square error to the standard deviation to also be satisfactory. So in the second table here, this is a table of the simulated results. So this shows the result for the baseline and then the policy, and then the changes in the percentage from the status quo. Okay, so this is the result of the water demand for the scenarios. For the two scenarios, we have the baseline scenario and then the policy scenario, and down here is the change in percentage from the baseline and then the policy scenario. So we are seeing that so in the head we have the status quo. We consider the status quo consists of the 0.9 growth rate. So here we are estimating that every year the population will increase by 0.9%, and then the outdoor use fraction was 0.6, and then the per capita water use that was considered was 223 gallon per capita per day. So this information were obtained from literature and other studies, as well as other studies. So what I did was that formed the basis for the status quo. So I have those parameters being the status quo. Then I increase the growth rate and also decrease the growth rate. So the initial growth rate for the status quo was 0.9, and I increase it by, I multiply it by 2 to see the effect, and I also decrease it by 2 to see the, I half it to also see the effect. And a similar thing was done for the outdoor use fraction and then the per capita for the per capita one, I decrease it to 202.5 to see the effect, and also increase it to 243.5 to see the effect of the water demand. And then I look at the combination of factors, combination of conditions. So the combination of conditions, I look at the growth rate being 0.5%, and then the outdoor fraction use being 0.45, and then the GPCD, or the gallon per capita per day I used, was 202.5. So I wanted to see the changes. So this model was simulated from 2010 to 2060. So that's within 50-year period, to see by 2050 what will be the water demand. So at the end, we are seeing that the status quo, the water demand for the baseline case, so the baseline just consider the demand and then the supply without putting any price effect or financial sector. So at the end of I have the water at 2060. I'm getting the water demand to be about 767,000 acre feet for the baseline, but for using the status quo. But then once the pricing or the financial sector is incorporated, then this water demand will reduce drastically to about 240,000 acre feet, which shows a percentage reduction of 68.8%, almost 69%. So similarly, the growth rate, now all other factors were maintained, but then the growth rate was now increased to 1.8% from 0.9. So assuming that the population is growing very fast at 1.8%, what will be the effect? So once that one is considered, the water demand drastically moved to 1.2 million for the baseline, and then about 375,000 for the policy. So from about 770 here to 1.2 million for the baseline, and then about 240,000 here acre feet here from the policy to about 375, which shows that the increase in population kind of affect the demand, which is true. Once there are a lot of people, the demand of water will be very high. So then I decrease the growth rate. Once I decrease the growth rate, this water demand it decreases. Yes, so now the water demand is decreasing from 767 to about 613 for the baseline, and for the policy is decreasing from 230 to about 240,000 to about 191,000 acre feet, which shows that once we are able to control the population, like the people migrating to this place and other population, once the people who are migrating to are reduced, then we'll have less amount of water being demanded for. So and then also when we move here, we have the outdoor use fraction. So we see that the outdoor use fraction was changed to 0.8 from the 0.6. So once outdoor use was changed from 0.6 to 0.8, there was no change in the water demand for all the cases. So even when the outdoor use was also reduced to 0.5, there's no change. So that tells you that water demand, the demand of water, is not affected by the amount of water that is used outside. So water demand, regardless of the amount of water that you use outside or inside, it has no influence on the water demand. The water demand is basically influenced by the population and the per capita demand. So we see that once when there is a change in per capita demand, it changes. And also when we have combination of factors, once we combine, we use 0.5% growth rate and 0.45 outdoor use, and then 202.5 GPCD, we are seeing that there is total reduction in the water demand, as well as for both baseline and then also and then the combination of factors, as I was mentioning, once we employ different combination factors, we are getting drastic change in water demand for the baseline and then the policy scenarios as seen here. So the second table just it consists of the water supply, the demand, and the amount of water that is available to be withdrawn for 2060. at 2060 for the Las Vegas Valley using the baseline scenario. So just using the baseline scenario, we are seeing that using the baseline scenario for all the combination for all the descriptions, like the status quo, and then also increasing or decreasing the growth rate, increasing or decreasing the outdoor use, increasing or decreasing the per capita demand, will all produce a water supply which is less than the amount of water being demanded. So the amount of water demand is kind of increased. This is because it's more than the supply. This is because there is no change in the this is because there was no implementation of financial aspect or price elasticity. So when you increase for example, when the growth rate is increased, the population increases, and that means that the demand will increase, and the water supply, the supply of water to the valley it doesn't change. It's from a particular it's from either the Colorado River and the return flow credit. The return flow credit is as a result of the amount of water that is used indoors. And then because the outdoor, for example, when the outdoor use for right here, when the outdoor use fraction is increased to 0.8, then the indoor use reduces, and therefore the supply here, for example, the supply here at where we have 0.8 fraction of the outdoor use, the supply is less, very less supply, because we only get what is given by the Colorado River, which is 300,000 acre feet. So we are getting the supply here to be 422, the rest being from the groundwater. And then, but however, once we have less amount of outdoor use, which is we have 0.45. When we have 0.45 fraction of the outdoor use, then the water supply is moved to 713,000 acre feet, which shows that yes, the more once we are having more outdoor use, once we are having more indoor use and less outdoor use, there will be more return flow credit in addition to the amount that is allocated from the Colorado River, making our water supply to be very high. Although using the baseline scenario, this has not matched the demand, anticipated demand. It kind of almost equals to the demand. So the next table presents the water demand and supply using the policy scenario. So this is when the price elasticity or price factor is incorporated. So once the price financial sector is incorporated in the model, and then the amount of water that people will use is influenced by the pricing, and then the price elasticity. Once this is put in place, then the water demand for all the years is reduced drastically. So we are having a water demand for using the status quo. We are having a water demand of about 240,000, and then a water supply of 440,000, which means that more water is available than what is demanded. So this means that more water is available, there will be more water running out, more water being in existence than what is being demanded. And then this is the same for all the cases. So even if population is increased, it's only when population is increased, even we are getting the water supply to even be more than the demand. And then this runs through all the conditions that we use. So if we want to have more water available, we have to incorporate the price elasticity or pricing into the structure. And then this will kind of make people, once people are the way people are being charged for water is based on their use and the pricing, then their desire to use more water will kind of be reduced. Hence, we have a lot of less demand and more supply. So it is seen that from this, once we incorporate the supply, there is water supply is enough at all the conditions. And the lowest demand is, however, recorded using the combination of the factors or conditions. So in conclusion, the water demand is influenced by population and then per capita water use. So depending on the population and depending on the amount of water that is used in a day, the water demand will either increase or reduce. And then to increase the water supply, there should be increase in indoor water use. So you rather reduce the outdoor water use, because this outdoor water use do not come as return flow credit. The indoor water use are recycled and then returned and come back as return flow credit, whilst the outdoor use may be lost through evaporation or other means. Incorporation of the price policy leads to drastic reduction in the water demand. And then the water demand was reduced to approximately 69%, regardless of the condition of the stimulation. And then also, regardless of the stimulation of the conditions. So here are some of the references I use in the study, and I would like to acknowledge my advisor and then the professor for this course, Dr. Ahmad, and then also Genevieve Allen, a graduate student at UNLV. Thank you.